morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Scott, and once again, welcome back to episode 6 of Papercuts, a Death Note recap podcast. My name is Scott. With me, of course, is...
Hi, my name is Ollie, joining Scott.
So, something that I've been thinking about with the show is that it's sort of become like the best Death Note companion show. In that, if you're watching the show for the first time, there's going to be a lot of things that fly right over your head. And you know what, Ollie? I think we owe it to the people to break things down and sort of give that recap of what's gone on in the show, because the pace moves real quick. And yeah, there's something to be said, I think, about being there to explain some of the inner workings of the show. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree on that one. Like, especially, I think the best way to consume this meat is you watch the episode and then you hit our recap. I think that's the best way because I watched it as a kid. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then rewatching as an adult, so many stuff just flew over my head.
And
So many.
you almost need that little bit of extra time to digest exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
while, yeah, sure, you could binge this entire show in a weekend,
Yeah.
a lot is
Yeah.
gonna go over your head. And you're gonna miss out on a lot of those little details, which is why we are here. And we're gonna be recapping episodes 24, 23, 22, and 21. I said that backwards,
Yes.
but you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what were your thoughts on these episodes, Ollie, when you watched them back again?
It's terrifying, man. Murder on a corporate level.
Oh, man.
Worst thing. Like, ugh. I thought Kira, like having the Death Note going on a murder spree was bad, and then like, you know what? Corporate level.
Yeah.
Let's try this.
Kira
Yeah,
Incorporated.
it's spooky. It's spooky. Being a grown up,
S-
no corporate level murder.
Spooky is a very good word for it. Just before we get into the recap, if you're enjoying the show, you're watching the show on YouTube, drop a like, leave us a comment, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear what you think of the show. And if you are listening to us on one of your favorite podcast platforms, leave a review and let us know what you think. You can always get in touch with us via our Instagrams, which we'll be plugging at the end of the show. You got to stick around for it. And follow us on your favorite podcast apps. Hopefully, this show, we are going to be coming down the line of our final half of the show. So, obviously, Papercuts isn't going anywhere, but Death Note only has 37 episodes, and we are now past the halfway point.
Yeah.
So, we'd love to hear
It's a
your
good
feedback on the
time.
show.
Yeah.
And
It's a good time to throw suggestions what we can tackle next.
exactly, we are going to be looking for new suggestions. We've got a few ideas in the pipe as to where to take the show next, and what the next thing we're going to cover or next podcast we're going to launch is. But that takes care of our housekeeping. What do you say we get into episode 21, Performance?
Let's go.
Okay, so we open up on the Yotsuba group talking about Coil's report on Misa. So Coil, who, if you don't remember, is actually Iber, who is a conman hired by L to work the case with him, but also Coil as a person doesn't actually exist. So Coil is actually L and is a fabrication of L's imagination.
Yep.
So his report states that Misa was brought in for questioning because she, quote unquote, knew who Kira was, or knew Kira at some point. Coil, who is really Iber, is hoping that if Misa were to become the spokesperson for Yotsuba, then she might leak some information about Elf to them, because they know, or Coil knows, quote unquote Coil, knows that Misa was brought in for questioning by L, so she might have some details on who he is. Rather than simply doing this themselves, as they're paying Coil to do it, Coyle suggests that they all just come to her job interview, and he'll pose as one of the people working for Yotsuba, and they can ask all the questions that they want to. And we find out the third Kira, whom we don't actually know who he is yet, but you can figure it out if you're paying attention, is finding this whole process of being Kira really tedious and boring. He doesn't like that he has to be killing criminals when he could be doing something better with his time. Now, he decides, based on Coyle's information, that Misa must have been the second Kira, and that she forfeited her Deathnote and lost all her memory. I believe he has a conversation with Rem about that.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. I remember that episode. Hair flick.
Right. So we know that she did that. But how does this person, who is the third Kira, know that? Did Rem tell her? Did Rem tell him?
Well, I would say
that this is what happens if you... But maybe... But didn't Rem... we can assume that this person knows that you can give... If you give up ownership of the Deathnote, you will lose memories. We have to assume that he knows that.
I would say the only person who can say that is Rem, but like I don't see a motive for Rem to mention that information, eh?
Well, it might have been in the conversation that must have happened when he first got the Deathnote. Perhaps she mentioned to him that, hey, you are now the owner of this. If you want to get rid of it, you will lose all memory of ever having it.
Oh, it's starting to come together.
Right. So he decides that he will make Misa his wife, therefore allowing him all the benefits of being Kira, which in his mind are simply money and power.
And he's into that part. Yeah.
And to this, Rem is disgusted, and so she pulls a boss move and rips off a tiny piece of the Deathnote and takes it with her once Kira is done with it for the day.
He did that, yeah. Oh yeah, he did that.
Yeah.
See, this is what we're talking about. Right.
A snake.
Oh, okay. Go on.
So I think we know where this is going, and when we saw Rem pull a piece of the Deathnote, immediately I was like, oh man, this is going to be good.
Oh, he's going to go to the toilet.
So we come back and we see that Mogi is Misa's new manager. He's having a bit of a hard time being the same over-exaggerated manager that Matsu was really, really good at. But, you know, he makes it work. And honestly, I gotta say that I think that Mogi is the real MVP of the show. Like,
on this one?
No, just of the show in general. Like, I've yet to see him do something that wasn't awesome, helpful, or super efficient.
He does everything right.
That's what I'm saying. He has yet to make a wrong decision. So Iber tells Misa during the interview, because remember, Iber is on the panel. Iber is on the panel, quote unquote, as okay, so this is kind of complicated. So Iber, who is actually Coyle, is acting as if he's a member of the Yotsuba group to be at Misa's job interview to ask her these questions. Even though Iber, who is Coyle, who I think they make up a third name for him as a member of the Yotsuba group, is in league with Misa about this whole situation. They question... Basically, they tell her that she's already got the job and she just needs to clear a few things up. They question the reason why she came to Tokyo and her encounter with L. And suddenly, one of the gentlemen on the panel, Higuchi, decides that he doesn't like where this is going and why are they interrogating her, so he goes to the washroom. Misa also steps out to use the washroom. While there, Rem touches Misa with a piece of the notebook,
It's like
and now she is able to see Rem. She does not yet have all of her memories back.
she gets some.
She gets some of them back, but she doesn't
Hmm.
get all of them back. So Rem reveals to Misa that both she and Light were both Kira at one point or another.
Hmm.
And after accepting that Misa's feelings for Light are what they are,
Hmm.
and that she is still devoted to Light in every sense of the word, they formulate a plan to oust the new Kira.
You
Because
know,
honestly, Rem is just sick of this guy. That's
that
really the whole
yeah.
beginning of this whole conversation, is that Rem is just like, this guy sucks. He's the worst. He's not smart. He's not
you, you
fun. He's
you know,
gross.
thinking about it, like I think this is the first time Rem kind of they're not supposed to like meddle, right?
Yep.
So
This
like
is
I
the
think this
first
is the
time Rem does it.
yeah. He's like starting to become like the jealous guy before the right?
Do you think
Because
that Rem is on the way to being the new Jealous?
dude, he didn't have to like tear a piece of the Death Note and go all that way to touch Misa with it, but he did it
I mean,
anyway.
that's true. So in the summaries that I've been reading, they refer to Rem as a she.
Oh, okay. But
So
here's the
that's
bigger
just, I just
question,
want to
bud.
clear that up before we continue.
Here's a bigger question. Do you think Light saw this coming?
We'll get to that. We're
Okay.
gonna get to that sort of thing.
Now I'm starting to think.
So they agree that when Misa comes back to the bathroom, Rem will be standing behind the person who Kira is, the person who's been acting as Kira. And then we flash to Light, who's having some real dark thoughts about what it would be like to be Kira. His thoughts are getting real close to the thoughts he would have as his former self when he was Kira.
He's a bastard.
Now, it comes up while looking at recent criminals that Kira now is killing any criminal, even petty thieves who are sorry for their crimes. They're still getting offed.
You're
Whereas
right.
Kira used to only kill hardcore criminals, which is something that
Yeah.
he would tend to agree with.
Yeah. I also remember like on that episode, like there were criminals that already like, they're they repented for what happened and they still died, right? Like the trial's over. Like, of course, like, oh, okay. That's very
Mhm.
un-Kira like.
Exactly. Something that I forgot to mention was that when Rem comes back to the bathroom, sorry, when Misa comes back from the bathroom, Rem is standing behind Higuchi. Higuchi? Higuchi.
Higuchi.
The gross, awful, long haired, red haired guy. It's okay, we're going to see a lot more of him. So
Mullet.
Misa
He
and
has a
Mogi come
mullet.
back to the HQ, and Misa boasts about how well the interview went and how 3 of the 7 men on the board have already asked her out on dates. She suggests that she can definitely investigate them a whole lot easier if she happens to be out on the town with them, to which Light disagrees, as it would be way too dangerous. She skulks back to her room, claiming that she already has the best plan, even if Light is worried about her, which is kind of cute. That Light's
I
telling her,
just,
like, no, it would be too dangerous for you to do this.
I
It's
mean,
bad
like,
enough that you're wrapped up in this investigation.
corporate guys, creepo, man. Ugh.
Oh man, never trust a corpo.
Ugh.
I've
Ugh.
read enough cyberpunk to know that you should never trust a corpo.
Shadowrun. Oh, God bless that game. I miss that game so much. Carry on.
So the next day, Misa slips into a nearby hospital to use the washroom during a pretty much routine shoot. There, she swaps clothes with a woman in a nurse's outfit and makes a getaway. By the time Mogi realizes that the woman in the nurse in Misa's old clothes isn't actually Misa, she has already snuck out and hopped into a sports car with Higuchi to go on a date.
Hey, you gotta give Mogi some props. It didn't take him that long to
Oh no,
realize
he noticed immediately that it wasn't Misa.
this guy has the eyes. Like,
But even still, like it still wasn't quite fast enough for him to catch Misa.
but man, it's impressive. Like, oh,
Absolutely. 100%. So he suggests that they go and have a bite to eat, and she agrees. Besides, if Higuchi pulls anything perverted, she can just kill him. After all, she is the second Kira. And this sends Higuchi spinning. Like, his reaction is priceless, being all like, why would she reveal that to me? Also, oh my god, this is amazing because I want to marry. I knew it. I knew you were the second Kira, but I need you to prove it. So here's what you're going to do. They pull over on the side of the highway. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to kill this man because of XYZ. He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And Misa somehow signals Ren, who's in the back seat, by the way, to kill this person. 40 seconds go by, and he dies. Immediately, Higuchi reclines the seat, jumps on top of Misa, and says, oh my god, you're the second Kira. Will you marry me, please? Loses his mind over her.
Jumps.
But of course, Misa being all, well, no, I need proof that you are also Kira. And so he says, I can only do it when I'm at home, which is a really bad line. This never happens. I have to go home first.
You can't do that.
And so they make a deal. They say that if Higuchi wants to prove that he's Kira, he will not kill anybody. Sorry, he won't kill the criminals on TV for at least 3 days. If that's the case, it proves that he's Kira, and she'll consider marrying him.
Downfall of man, dude. Women.
Facts. Hard facts.
Or facts.
And he agrees with gusto. He's not letting this opportunity pass him by.
Yes, this like dirty old dude look, like sleazebag vibe going on around him. Hate the guy.
Absolutely. Yes, he is that exactly. So, Misa returns to the HQ with proof positive that Higuchi is in fact Kira, because Misa was smart enough to record their whole conversation. And if the criminals broadcasted on television do not die or do not continue to die in the next week, then that is proof positive that Higuchi is in fact Kira.
True.
End of episode. What did you think of this episode?
You know, it reminded me of one thing, like a fun fact. You know, like how like mobsters or gangsters do like some transactions
Mm-hmm.
in the beach, in the water.
Go on.
Because you can't put mics or you can't be bugged, right? You're swimming around the water. So it's just going to be, let's say we're going to go down on a deal. Hey, let's go for a swim. So we talk there. We're like in water, nothing's, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, you're a corporate guy. And you didn't even thought about like, this chick might be gathering intelligence.
Yeah, he definitely he wasn't really thinking with his mind brain.
Yeah. The power of the below the belt is compelled him too much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, poor guy. He never stood a chance.
Nope.
Let's be real.
Yeah, nothing. He's not worth talking about anymore. Let's go to the next episode. Screw that guy.
Episode 26. Crap, what was the name of this episode?
26 is called Guidance.
Guidance. Okay, so episode 26. Guidance. So when watching this episode, I have it in my notes that there are a whole bunch of new characters in the OP that we haven't met yet.
Ooh,
And
you know,
after
yeah,
seeing after seeing that picture of like Aizawa in the glasses with a shotgun, makes me
yep.
really wish that he could have like a spin-off chapter or a couple of episodes where he takes the case on his own hands and goes full vigilante.
You know, if
Man,
this has
Aiza,
like at least 5 episodes more, like I don't know, maybe a character arc for each one of them, just like for development. This would be
something,
like,
right.
mm,
Man, because man, I miss Aizawa. He was great. He was awesome.
yep.
Um, so now that L is beginning to accept that Higuchi is the cure he's been looking for, he now takes the time to focus on how the killing is happening. They all agree to wait the 3 days, and if broadcasted criminals stop dying, then it proves that Higuchi is Kira.
It's Kira.
L asks Weddy to focus on the cameras and wiretaps only on Higuchi, as she was concerned that she wouldn't be able to get cameras and wiretaps into all of their homes. So rather than doing all of them, only focus on this one guy. Even if, which is something she can handle no problem, even if he does have 6 cars that need to be tapped.
Who needs 6 cars in Tokyo?
Higuchi owns 6 cars for some reason. I
Oh,
don't know
here.
why that is an important detail,
Hmm.
but somebody thought it was important enough to mention it, so am I.
There's
Now,
another really cool information from Weddy that she mentioned. Like among the members, like there were some of them that she couldn't infiltrate the houses, right? Which is pretty interesting.
well, it's super cool that the company itself, the
That's the
company
thing,
building, had
right?
no security, had like barely any security,
Got
and
infiltrated,
so
but then again, the house of one of these dudes, hey boss, no bueno, can't get in
yeah,
there, but I can get in their corporate building, no problem. It's like,
yeah,
so this guy's house is more secure than this building. Like,
yeah,
something's wrong.
wild. So this next part gets a little bit complicated, so I'm just going to read it right from the wiki.
Yeah, go
What
for it.
follows is a very telling conversation between Light and L. So L asks Light and Misa if they have any memory of ever killing anybody. Light and Misa both deny it vehemently. So L announces his new theory about Kira's powers. L accurately says that Light used to be Kira, and that Kira's powers have transferred to Higuchi, leaving Light with no memory of it. L now wonders if Light himself willed it, or if a person was doing it from the shadows. And L decides, strictly hypothetically, that if he was the one to do it, if he was in that position, he would transfer the powers of his own free will. That it wouldn't make sense if there was somebody else, because if there was somebody else, it wouldn't have taken that long for him to transfer the powers, or for the powers to be
Mhm.
transferred. So basically, L agrees that since there would be no reason to wait a whole week to do the power transfer, and that the person would have just killed him long ago. So
Mhm.
the whole week that he was in solitary, that Light was
That
in
was five
solitary.
months. Oh no,
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 it
that
was
was like
50.
50 days.
Yeah, it was 50 days.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't, if somebody else was controlling Light as Kira, he would have just killed Light because there was no reason to wait that long to do the power transfer.
L is on the trail, eh?
And so with this in mind, L plans to have a situation set up where Higuchi is unable to transfer powers to somebody else. He's planning to trap him, basically. L and the team decide to do this by airing a 3-hour special on Sakura TV, claiming that at the end of the show, they're going to reveal who Kira is. They believe that if they catch Higuchi trying to kill someone who would know that he was Kira, then they can also see how he did it. Now, the only person that can do this, who can fill this role, is, of course, Matsuda. Given that he's
Right.
the only one who saw the meeting, knows who the people are,
Yep.
and is still known by a fake name. But he should be safe, because Higuchi is believed to need a name and a face to kill. Now, of course, Matsuda will be blurred out and have a voice changer, but there will be a mistake that shows his face for a moment.
Yep.
But if Higuchi is able to kill with just a face, as the second Kira could, then Matsu will be killed. It is a risk he is more than happy to take. Now, once Higuchi makes an attempt on Matsuda's life, then they'll have the method of killing on file, like on tape, and swoop in and arrest him for being Kira. Now, 3 days later, Manikawa arrives at the home of another of the Yotsuba group. Now, Manikawa, in case you forgot, is the mole that Light called, claiming he was Kira. Or claiming he was L. Sorry, even I'm getting confused. And he's basically been working Namikawa as sort of a mole. Now, he arrives at the home of another member of the Yotsuba group, and they're joined by one other member, and the three of them discuss who they think Kira is working with. Because they don't know that he is Kira, they assume that Kira is working behind the scenes of the Yotsuba group. They come to the consensus through their own ways that it must be Higuchi. Light, posing as L, calls Namikawa, and after a minor slip-up confirms the group's suspicions of Higuchi, goes over a plan with him and the others in the room. At 7 o'clock tonight, Namikawa is to call Higuchi with the bad news that in 3 hours, Kira will be revealed to the world. If he does this, if Namikawa makes this call and prevents other members of the Yotsuba group from interfering, then they will not be prosecuted.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Higuchi is thinking about his own plan. Once he marries Misa, he'll use her Shinigami eyes to kill his way to the top of the Yotsuba group. Like, he'll just use her, basically. Maybe not in a dissimilar way that Light originally planned to use her?
No, I think this is like an afterthought, because Higuchi doesn't know about Misa back then, right? So I think
No, he
this is
does.
an
He knows
afterthought.
that she's the second Kira. And he knows that he knows about the ideal, and he knows the second Kira could use or could kill with just a face.
100%. I think Misa just being how do I say this? An attractive female, which enticed him
bonus
to
to
go
him.
after her.
Yeah.
Nah, I think it was like a main goal for him, because like he tried to flex, and
That's right.
he tried
Even
to
during the
flex.
party.
Yeah,
Even
he
during the
tried to
party,
flex, man.
he was trying to like get with Misa.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she's the second Kira to him is just a bonus on top.
Yep.
So, he turns on the TV after Namikawa's phone request and initially dismisses it as hoax. The cover falls as if on cue in front of Matsuda, and they immediately cut to commercial. Which is weird, because Higuchi remembers writing that person's name, writing Matsu in his Death Note, and it
Just to be
didn't.
sure.
It didn't work. And he's, what's going on? And so he assumes that it must be. He assumes it's an alias, but he doesn't go down the realm of police officer. He assumes that it must be that he used to be a performer, and that must be a stage name. So
yeah,
he's freaking out. He's got to figure out what this guy's real name is. And so he calls, this is great, he calls Mochi, who's really Mogi, who laughs the question off. He calls the president of Yoshida Productions, Misa's production company, who says that he doesn't remember his name, but says that Higuchi can go to the office and have a look. He tries calling Misa, who doesn't pick up the phone, and he also tries calling Mido at Sakura to pull the plug, but he can't do that either. So he goes through all of his options and realizes his only option is to get to Yoshida Productions after hours and go through the files and try to figure out who this person is. Which, it feels like the most unrealistic part about this whole thing is that the president of Yoshida Productions is on vacation.
Why not? I mean,
well, it just seems a little antithetical to what we know about Japanese work culture.
they do get vacations. It might just so happen that I'm gonna take it now. But like, what's weird is like, you're a CEO, you're busting your way into the office just to get some staff files. I mean, that
For a
should be
company that
online.
you
You should
have
have
no real, at a company
yeah,
you have no real affiliation with.
exactly right. Nonchalantly gave him the codes.
And yeah, right. And how the head of Yoshida Productions is just down to do it, down to give him the files.
Hey man, maybe like corpo connections. Maybe like vice versa. Somebody has dirt on someone.
Hardcore cope again. Never
Yeah.
trust a
Corpo.
corpo.
Ugh.
I think that's the title of the show. Anyway, with 2 hours to spare, he hops in his car with a revolver and the Deathnote and drives off to the city, with Weddy following close behind.
Sweet, sweet Weddy.
And so this episode is this episode is a lot of planning. It was a lot to go through and a lot to try and wrap your head around. Essentially, the main cliff notes of episode 21 are that there is now a plan in place to catch Higuchi as Kira, get him arrested, but they have to figure out how he kills first. That's number one. Once they have that, they'll get him. And in this episode, in episode 22, Frenzy, we're going to see how that all plays out. Ollie, do you have any more thoughts on Guidance before we continue?
It's just funny how you see someone like lose their cool once they know that, that moment? Yeah. He's in that mode right now. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of, again, it's fiction, right? But then again, if you take a closer look, why? Why would you do that? It's giving the codes and everything.
Yeah, it definitely stinks. It definitely feels like there's something going on. Episode 22, Frenzy. This episode opens with Higuchi writing Matsuda's alias in the Deathnote once again. Obviously, this doesn't work, because he tries it again. He makes a deal with Rem for the Shinigami eyes and kills a police officer who just pulls him over for speeding.
We forgot something.
What's that?
We forgot something.
What did I forget? Fill me in.
Everything Higuchi's doing is caught on camera.
Right, because Weddy was able to get cameras into all of his cars.
Yeah, also in the production building.
And the production building, that's right.
Yeah, they saw him go in there, and then... bloop.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. So he makes a deal for the eyes and kills a police officer who pulls him over for speeding, because now he can see his name above his face.
Mm-hmm.
This shows the team that he has now gained the powers of the second Kira, which now they are familiar with. Our task force team is familiar enough with these powers to know what they are and to know how they work. Elle and Light head to the scene via helicopter, but leave Misa tied up in a chair for some reason, which I don't think is ever explained. Like, they do it, and it happens, but they never explain why they leave her tied up.
Why was she tied up?
Couldn't tell you.
All right, carry on.
Elle, sure, yep. Also, Elle can fly a chopper. He says it's really intuitive. and that anybody can learn just cuz?
Big
Is there
brain,
anything
bro.
that L can't do?
You know what? At this point, no. I think he can do everything.
Now, I've yet to see. There is yet to be a time where he is confused about what to do next. He's always got a plan.
Yeah.
So L orders an immediate arrest of Higuchi, and they plan the bust at Sakura TV. Higuchi makes his way there after swinging by Yotsuba to find the tapes with Matsuda on them, only to find out that they've been switched, and that Matsuda no longer appears on any of their surveillance tapes. Matsuda and the host at Sakura TV have been replaced with mannequins. And so Soichiro, Iber, Wedi, and Mogi are on site and attempt to make the arrest. Soon before this, we learn that it's against the law for any Japanese civilian to own a gun.
Yes. Which
So
is weird.
the only person packing is Wedi.
And
Iber
Soichiro
doesn't.
refused.
What's that?
Soichiro refused the gun from Whitey.
Exactly, because he's not a cop anymore.
Yeah.
Now he's just a civilian. And so Soichiro is shot in the arm by Higuchi as he makes his getaway, after realizing that he was set up. The team is headed off by a police barricade that is headed off by none other than our boy Aizawa. Oh, what a sweet moment of catharsis.
Oh, but the golden wheelbarrow, I think it's not going to go to Aizawa.
Man, Aizawa for the win. I knew he was going to... When I saw that image of him in the OP, I knew he was going to come back. I just didn't know how he was going to come back, and I definitely didn't expect it to be this much of a badass moment for him, to be standing there, to be running the police barricade, of all people. And anyway, I'm getting a little hyped, but I was very excited to see Aizawa again.
There's a better hype than that, bud.
Man, oh, that was good. So good. Also, it turns out that the sniper that we see in the opening song in the OP is actually Watari.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
Who shoots out his tire? Who shoots out Higuchi's tire as he tries to drive away?
Do
and
you
then
know how hard it is to shoot?
Shoots the gun out of his hand when he tries to off himself when he is cornered by the police.
And he's on a chopper that's moving.
He's on a moving chopper.
When he shot a moving car.
Man.
This guy's like what, 70, 80?
At least.
That's my boy.
At least. And so Light declares that it's over. They've caught Kira.
But wait.
So that's the end of the episode. That's the end of episode 22, Frenzy. Now, for all of the buildup in the previous episode, I gotta say that this episode pays it off in spades.
100%.
But so while it feels like an ending, this is only the midpoint of what's to come, given everything we know about the series as a whole.
Oh yeah, this is not it. This is
not it. This is not it by a long shot.
No.
Do you have any more thoughts on this episode before we move on?
It's pretty intense. I mean, you know, it's scary to think like someone who has a good grasp or understanding of human behavior, like how they plan that. See,
well,
Elle wasn't messing around. I'm pretty sure it was.
Well, there was definitely some parts to the plan.
Mm-hmm.
But as we go forward, I don't think... Because remember what set all of this in motion was Rem's disgust for Higuchi.
What do you think would have happened if Rem never ripped that piece of the Deathnote?
Well, I think that the conversation that Namikawa had with his cohorts would have still happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they would have eventually started working more closely with Light as L.
Mhm.
as sort of a subterfuge. And I think that Coil would have been found out. I think that Higuchi would have been found out eventually. I really think that Higuchi was being too sloppy with things.
He is. He
Because keep in
was.
mind, he wouldn't have also pursued Misa as like hard, as heavily, which led to his downfall if he didn't realize that if he didn't get confirmation that she was the second Kira.
That is true. But
If
do you
he
think?
didn't know that she was the second Kira, I don't
Mhm.
think he would have pursued her as vehemently.
Now the question is, do you think Light saw this coming? That Rem would react this way?
I don't know. We can talk about it at the end of this episode, at the end of the next episode,
Yeah.
because where it goes is hilarious. So, episode 24, Revival. Higuchi is arrested by Suichiro and Mogi, but they are instructed to wear tinted helmets to make sure that they're safe. He's fully arrested as under suspicion of being Kira. They are instructed to put a helmet on his head so they can talk to him over a mic. And L convinces Higuchi to admit that he has a magic notebook that kills people. Those are his words, verbatim. The way he gets those words out are a little bit, we'll say, controversial. Says that we know you have information about Kira, and we will use any way we can to get that information out of you. And that's when he admits that he has the magic notebook.
Magic
Thinking it's
notebook.
crazy, Suichiro picks up the notebook and is horrified at the fact that now he can see Rem. Mogi goes through the same experience when he touches it.
Freaks out.
And when L gets his hands on the book, his mind starts swirling. He kind of has a mental breakdown about the fact that Shinigami do exist. And in the soup of his mind, he realizes right away that there has to be more than one notebook in the human world, and also remembers that every single mention of a notebook during the investigation, which, spoiler alert, is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of mentions of a notebook during this
Yep.
investigation. While L's head is still spinning, Kira Light takes the book from L, and all of his memories of being Kira come back.
Hence the title, Revival.
In my notes, I have caps locked. Kira is back, baby! Exclamation point. I
Yep.
live it. I was very excited when I wrote this. When a plan come together. Let's see how he did it, folks.
Go. I'm gonna
Again,
listen to this really good.
this gets a little complicated, so I'm just going to read the summary from the internet because I didn't have the patience to try and parse it out myself. Big thanks to the wiki, by the way, for all of our
Yep.
summaries. Typically, I go through and I just take point form of the summary recaps, and we talk about them here on the show. In this case, as I've said, I'm just going to read it verbatim, and that's because
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to sum up this whole thing myself.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to.
Okay,
Let's go.
sit back, get comfy, and get ready to have your mind blown.
Let's go.
The notebook that Higuchi used was Light's original Deathnote, with Light having made it so that Rem owned that Deathnote, and he forfeited Misa's while in confinement, thereby allowing him to gain all of his original memories. Follow me?
Yeah.
Also, when he gave away his Deathnote, he had Ryuk add 2 fake rules that have no effect. One, stating that after having written in the book, the owner must continue to use it at least once every 13 days or they will die. The second, stating that if the book is made unusable by burning or shredding, everyone who has touched the book will die. Light then annexed Higuchi's death in front of L by writing Higuchi's name on a scrap piece of paper that he had in his watch that he
All the time.
only knew how to open because of the memories of being Kira. And what did he use to write it? He pricked his finger with the needle that was in the watch to write his name in his own blood. What? What?
It explains it. That hot swap they did in the forest?
I'm stunned. I'm physically stunned when I saw this happen and figured out everything and put it all together. This is what this show is all about.
Yeah.
Reveals like this, big brain, multi-dimensional chess, is what this show is all about. And, and sure, there was a lot of contrivances to get here, but at the end of the day, no matter what had happened up until now, no matter what your opinions of Deathnote were, up to this point, it does not deny the fact that this is possibly one of the hypest anime moments of all time. This beats the chip scene. This beats the tennis scene. This beats the Lindell Taylor scene. Every single build, the Ray Pember scene, all of it. This beats all of it out of the park.
Yep. The buildup is really good. Like, it everything would start to make sense after this reveal, especially the swap. It completely explains why he needed to do that swap in the forest.
Like, you had the whole arc leading up to this moment. And it was so, like, even watching it the first time, you knew that somehow he was going to get the Deathnote back. Oh, it's unreal. Unreal.
More than 3D chess, but
anyway. Now Light has to show that he's sad at the fact that Higuchi is dead, because now they can't interrogate him. But it was the only way for Light to get his memories back permanently, because as it turns out, when somebody else owns the Deathnote that you had before, you will lose your memories if you let go of the Deathnote. So that's why he had to kill him right away. So the team goes over the rules, now back at HQ, including the two fakes. Rem is with them, and now they can all see her as well. The first rule is used to clear Misa of being one of the Kiras, because of the pattern of her killings. It couldn't have been her, because she was in solitary. That same rule also clears Light. Now, L asks Rem if there are more than this notebook in the human world, and if all Death Notes are the same. Rem says that there might be more in the human world, and that yes, all Death Notes are the same. So Light and Misa are let go, but Light decides to keep working with L on the investigation, so he can be closer to him now, because now he's got all his memories back as Kira, but albeit without the handcuffs. Now Light orders Misa to go dig up the other Death Note and write L's name in it, because if you remember, she could see it above his head. But unfortunately, given everything that's happened, Misa doesn't remember his real name, but makes a second deal with Ryuk to get back the Shinigami Eye.
This is what, deal number 3?
This is her second deal.
Second deal.
So again, okay, so let's map this out for a bit, okay? Say she was already given what happened with Jealous. She's given an extra, so she's
50, just to be conservative. 50.
Well, I was thinking bigger. Say she was given what happened with Jealous. She was given an extra 200 years of life from 17. Sure.
Okay.
And then The first one cuts it down to 100. So she'd lived to
Okay.
be already 120, approximately.
Okay.
And now she's only got another 50 years of life left. Because it cuts her remaining lifespan
Half.
half. So, when Misa comes back to tell this to Light, Rem notices that she has once again halved her life and is devastated at the fact that she's done this again. Realizing what's taken place, Light silently begins plotting his master plan with Misa by his side. End of episode.
Man.
Ollie, what do you think? Ollie, give me your thoughts. Give me your raw,
It's
unfiltered thoughts.
It's pretty good, Revival. I was kind of pissed when Light got all these memories, and that douchebag smile that he has, like, "Ooh, baby, I'm back."
Light, Kira is back. The
I'm like,
real
"Oh
Kira is back in town.
no, oh no, he's back.
Guess
Oh
who
no,
just
he's
got back
closer."
today? Mean old Kira had been away.
Yeah, and he's hanging out with Elle and Watery and the boys. And yeah, Misa got them eyes again. Damn. Oh no. Are they gonna go on a killing spree? I don't know. They can.
So,
Yeah.
needless to say, if you are listening to this show and following along with us, well, you're gonna have to come back next week to find out what happens next.
Oh, next week.
Next week, we'll be covering episodes 25, 26, 27, and 28 of Deathnote, in the hopes that with expectations through the roof and hype meters off the charts to see where this goes next.
Back
So with
in my
that in
first
mind,
watch through, the last 8 episodes, those are pretty intense.
oof, if you thought this was intense,
No,
oh
it gets better.
boy,
It gets better.
oh boy. It's like
Oh.
Death Note is the kind of series that, rather than having like peaks and valleys that get like higher and higher peaks,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it starts at a pretty basic level, kind of chills, a couple of exciting bits here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but then it takes off
Yep.
and it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It just kind of keeps going.
Yep.
And then it ends.
Yep. And you're like,
And
"Ooh,
that's
what's
the
going on?"
trajectory that we're on right now. We are rising and rising fast. And I gotta say, forget everything I said earlier in our series about how contrived and bad the animation was. Honestly, it doesn't matter.
No, not one bit.
I
Uh-uh.
thought that I'd be put off by the animation as it was happening, but no, it it literally doesn't matter because the writing and the story structure is as
Pretty darn good.
strong as it is.
Pretty good.
So, with that in mind, thank you so much for listening to Papercuts, episode 6. My name is Scott. With me, of
My
course,
name is Ollie.
is
What?
Ollie. Always a pleasure to have him here. Ollie, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me in the gram, XRice_INC Incorporated. Yeah. Uh, Follow us on other platforms, podcast, YouTube. Let us know if there's anything you would like us to cover, points of improvement. And yeah, if you want to watch along, say it there. We can figure
We
something out.
are, well, we are the premier Death Note companion podcast. I've looked,
Yes.
there's a few, but I don't think they're going to be as good as us. I just
We
painted
we
a big
cool.
target on my back. No
Oh
publicity. All
no.
publicity is good publicity. My name is Scott. You can find me on the
My-
internet at Walkstar. Do a search for Walkstar. Sometimes there's a Z on the end. Sometimes there's two Zs on the end. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below with the feedback that Ollie requested and we talked about. And if you're listening to the
Yeah.
show on your favorite podcast platform, leave us a follow and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. I'm pretty sure that's
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
You
Any
got it.
case, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
See ya.
孤独も惜し